Welcome to the Greater Southington Business Podcast, the local podcast that tells you stories behind the products, services, and nonprofits you interact with every day. This episode is sponsored by Northshire Consulting, your local independent investment advisory firm. Here's your host, Brian Williams.
On this episode, I'm here with Katy, the Director of Community Development for the Dementia Program here in Southington. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me. I am, as you said, Katy O'Leary Bannister. I'm the Director of Community Development for LiveWell, which people will probably remember was called for almost 30 years, the Alzheimer's Resource Center here in Plantsville. As the Director of Community Development, I am leading an initiative, a grassroots community initiative to have Southington become, hopefully, the first dementia-friendly community in Connecticut.
Okay, and when did this program start?
We're in our second year, so LiveWell enjoys the support for this initiative from the Bradley Barnes and Lila Upson Barnes Memorial Trust at the Main Street Community Foundation. So They are supporting this initiative to make Southington the first dementia-friendly community where people who are living with dementia are included and supportive and enjoy a good quality of life.
Okay, so where did this idea come from locally and then nationally?
Sure. Well, actually, it came from national first. Actually, It came from abroad first.
Oh.
This is actually about 20 years ago. Dementia Friendly began in the UK and only in the US since about 2015.
Okay.
So we got involved a couple years ago, so in 2017, and we being LiveWell, about 130 people live with us because we are dementia specific. So people live with us either in assisted living or skilled nursing. And this aligns with our belief that to live well in the community, because most people with dementia do live in the community, not at facilities like ours. You need a supportive community. So it was a real match in terms of what we believe in. So in addition to being a community initiative leader, we are the lead for Dementia Friends Connecticut. So I know this gets confusing. So Dementia Friendly America it has a program called Dementia Friends. And Dementia Friends is an hour-long information session where people come, and it is a really great way to learn a little bit. And Brian, I know you're a dementia friend. So you learned a little bit about dementia. Mm-hmm. You heard from somebody who's living with dementia, so you got an idea, first person idea of what that's like. Mm-hmm. Of course, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person. Right. But you did get a little bit of an insight, and then you also, as did your colleagues at the session, learn a little bit too about small ways you can be helpful and supportive. Right. And of course, when somebody is living with a disease, and Alzheimer's is caused by diseases of the brain, it's the most dominant or its most prevalent kind of dementia is Alzheimer's, accounting for up to about 80% of dementias, but there are about 100 different kinds. When somebody is living with dementia, of course, the people who love them are living with it too. So we as a community want to find as many ways as possible to step up and support them. One of my favorite quotes is by Ram Dass, which is, "We are all just walking each other home." Right. And that is what this initiative is all about. And as you remember from the session, just even being a dementia friend, it's super basic.
It is.
Isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the little things that you don't think about, and suddenly it makes you think about those.
Exactly. Things. One thing that's really interesting about dementia, when you think about it as a disability, it's kind of invisible. You can see if somebody's got, a wheelchair or an oxygen mask or something like that. But if they are experiencing cognitive change, it's pretty invisible for possibly quite a while.
Right. And as you know, they're very good at hiding it early on too.
Well, that can be part of it because of the stigma and the isolation, which is another big part of this movement, is to help eliminate that. But I think you'd agree that after becoming a dementia friend, it kind of puts it on your radar, such that when you're out in the community and you might notice somebody who looks a little maybe a little at a loss, maybe a little befuddled, and it might then occur to you now, having been through the session, that, gee, I wonder if that person is experiencing some change and maybe could use some help. And I've had this happen actually in a neighboring community. I was in the town center, and I noticed an older woman standing with her purse just kind of looking a little bit at a loss. And I looked at her for a few minutes and I wondered, and I walked up to her and I introduced myself and I said, "Hey, is there anything I can help you with?"
Right.
And she explained that she was waiting for her son who was going to park the car and that they were going to be going to the restaurant, but she thanked me for asking.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think prior to this work that it would have occurred to me. Gee, I wonder what's going on. I wonder if she could use some help. I don't think it would have occurred to me.
Right. And it is an important thing that you say in the program about if you've met one, you've met one, because
absolutely.
they are so different, just in the different types of dementia itself, but then the different personalities and how people deal with it. And also the way it comes and goes. Somebody might get in the car and know exactly where they're going and what to do and pull into that parking spot and it's gone, so to recognize that in the community is important.
Yeah. And all of these brains of ours are different. And I'm not an expert on dementia, but I've come to learn that, every single part of our brains does different things. And when the disease hits in various parts of your brain, it's going to affect different functionality, different things. And as you said, you've got a personality. There's all kinds of variables. But bottom line is the way we take care of each other is by helping to support whatever the need is.
Yeah. And the program, it's important that people understand it's not just for people going through it or for family members. It really is a community program.
It's absolutely for everybody. And in fact, we did it for a group, STEPS here in Southington, a wonderful, wonderful group. I forget what they call their leadership team of middle and high school students. And they did a session that was hosted at the police department last year. And they were fantastic and they got a lot out of it. So I think that it is such that it's very accessible for, probably middle school age children. And my sons who are in their early 20s have come, and it's really good for everybody. And it's very 101-ish in terms of it's just for the lay person to have a better understanding. Right.
There's not a big test at the end.
There is not a big test at the end. You get a button at the end.
Yes.
So it's all good.
Yep. And so you're doing some schools and some non-for-profits, and you're also rolling out this to businesses. Yeah.
So we're at a point now in our second year of the initiative here in Southington and this town has been so supportive, and the leadership, the town council, town manager, Mark Shota, there's been a lot of interest. So there's been, I think we've made about 700 dementia friends so far in town. And these are people who have attended the session that we've been discussing, that you've attended. And now the next step really is for actual training, such that people who in their jobs, and this is across the sector, so, banking, financial, the library, people in their jobs who have direct customer or client contact might have a little bit more of a sense of there might be some cognitive change going on here, and here are some things that I can do, some communication tips, some things that I can do to be supportive. And we are beginning that. Actually, the library, which has been fantastic and really led the way in this initiative, is our first training, and that's going to happen next week. So not only has the whole library staff, all but 2 people, one I think is new and the other one may have been gone that day, all but 2 of the library staff are dementia friends.
Okay.
And the library has made some physical changes, which is so terrific. Turned one of the bathrooms into a family bathroom, which is really important. They've also widened some aisles. They've done some things that just, have made things easier. They've also been hosting a monthly memory cafe.
Okay.
So a memory cafe is very cool, and a lot of people don't know what it is. So let me tell you.
Okay.
A memory cafe is a social gathering for people who are living with dementia, along with the person who's loving them, who cares for them. So their care partner.
Okay.
It is a place where you kind of check your dementia or your diagnosis or even your pre-diagnosis at the door, and just come together with people having a shared experience for little socializing, little food and beverage, little bit of very little, but some food, and then an activity.
Okay.
And so that's what it is. It's a way to help address, because of the stigma of dementia, it's important to have places in a dementia-friendly community where folks can come and gather. So that's what it is. What it isn't, which is equally as important, it's not a support group.
Right.
It's not a day program, and it's not respite care. Right. This is people with the disease and their partner. And they're fantastic. They really are just that power, as you know, I'm sure, of coming together with people having a shared experience. Okay. And so the library's been hosting one of those. Right. And that is on the second Tuesday of the month,
Okay.
downstairs in the classroom, and that is from 1 until 2:30.
Okay.
Registration is not necessary, and that's an important component because sometimes, or often even, you don't know how things are going to go on any given day.
Sure.
So it's nice to be able to just go when you can go and not go when you can't go.
Right.
And so we're thrilled to have one of those in the community at the library.
And is that the type of session that's led by somebody, or is it just simply people coming together?
Well, it is hosted. So Liz Jubei at the library, who's the director of adult programming, and I co-host that. But it's really it's interesting too. This is only our 4th month. Next week will be the 4th meeting. A group has really come together, and what it turns into is not that there won't always be newcomers, because there are, but it kind of evolves to be what the group wants. So we've done some fun activities, but we always check in, what did you like? What should we do more of? What would you enjoy? And so it's just kind of, evolving. Trying to think of other things that the library has done. The library has also developed a program called Take Me Back Totes.
Okay.
So these are bags of material, media, library materials that can be borrowed that are thematic. So there's a Take Me Back tote for the 1940s, and there's one for cooking, and it is filled with things that will kind of spur conversation and bring back some memories or talking points for folks. It gives people at home and their caregivers something to do around a theme, and it's been really popular. And those can be borrowed. And speaking of borrowing, another cool thing that the library has done is that you can actually, if you have dementia, you can actually get a library card that will give you. It won't look any different from anybody else's, but in the system, if you ask, you will have an extended loan period. And that is because it may take a little longer to finish a book.
Right.
So the library has just been super responsive, and the training means that they will have a decal on the door that says that they are supportive of this initiative, and that, of course, whether it be a business or the library or a restaurant, sends the message that you are welcome here, and we have a sense of how to best support you.
Right. And I know the library, as they sort of plan out their new building, that's an area of focus for them too, as far as being ADA compliant and all of that.
Wonderful.
So, it really is. If you're going to have a community center like that, libraries are a lot different than they were 10 or 20 years ago. They're not just
not your grandma's library.
No, it's definitely not.
They're so not quiet, and they're so wonderful. And in fact, I heard libraries referred to recently as the community's living room.
Yeah, that's
that
really
is
true.
Just the perfect term.
Yeah, you see people there who are starting businesses. You see people after school working on projects and all sorts of stuff.
There's a vitality and an energy. And so what better place for people who are living with dementia to come and feel welcome and it's just, I look forward to having, more than one location in town, but this is a great first start.
Right.
You know that there are only about 3 in Connecticut that are in kind of true neutral community settings. We have one here at LiveWell, which is awesome, and that's on the 3rd Wednesday night of the month. Okay. But in terms of being in the community, libraries are a great spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as the dementia-friendly community, is there a specific number of things that you have to do or a certain period of time to get that stamp of approval or something?
Yeah, and I appreciate too. It's not a certification. Yeah. It's really not. And the decal says proud to support dementia friendly Southington with the website, which by the way is dementiafriendsct.org. Okay. And if you go there, a couple of great videos that are helpful in kind of understanding how to best. One of them is what a dementia-friendly community looks like, which people always are curious about. Sure. What is that? And the other one is one I love out of Minnesota that is 5 people living with dementia who are speaking to the 5 key messages of Dementia Friends, and it's really powerful.
And those are the ones are they the ones in the course?
Yes, you did see those. So you did see those. Yeah.
Those are good.
Yeah, they are very good. Yeah. But to your question, what does a business do? So a business would have a majority of their personnel or their staff who interact with customers or clients attend a training. The training is about 90 minutes. And it really just gives people a sense of how they might recognize, not diagnose, God forbid, but recognize when cognitive change might be happening, how to communicate effectively with individuals with dementia, and also have a sense of how to be a resource, maybe information to share. So it's pretty basic.
Right.
But again, to our earlier conversation, it puts it on the radar. And there are places, I'm thinking, banks with bank tellers, restaurants with wait staff. There are people who are, retailers who are interacting directly. And this sort of information will make them all that much better when it comes to customer service and just recognizing the needs of their customers and clients.
Right. I imagine certain businesses that have a regular clientele are more likely to notice some of those changes.
That's a really good point, and that is absolutely the case. And that's your regular library patron, that your regular restaurant customer. So this just kind of puts that light bulb on that says, and then makes them more aware. We're also working, LiveWell, thanks to a grant, an ACL grant, is working to develop curriculum that is an even deeper dive training wise than what you and I have been discussing for first responders, as well as for Meals on Wheels or Bread for Life. They're volunteers who are often in situations where they need to have even more a deeper interaction, and more information.
And some of them in the Southington community have already had at least some training on that.
Exactly. And we differentiate, the Dementia Friends information session is really just information, and now we're moving into training. So that when we reach a point where the training is being delivered to various sectors, we will consider ourselves, a dementia-friendly community, knowing that you can never be completely dementia-friendly, but you are working on it all the time. And part of this, to your earlier question too, about how businesses can participate, we ask that they sign an agreement that they will designate somebody to kind of be the check-in for a refresh. Because of course, as you know, there's turnover. So how do you as a restaurant or a retailer or any of these places, when you're onboarding new employees or when some time has passed, how do you deliver a refresher? And we will likely develop a version of it online. That's kind of a work in progress, but we do ask that you kind of give us somebody to stay in touch with, such that we can come and, redo a refresh training or somehow keep us all as fresh as we can be with information.
Okay. And how are you promoting that with businesses? Is it something you do through the chamber or other chambers locally?
We certainly, Barbara at the chamber and I, the new executive director, have talked about this. We really have an awareness campaign that is kind of growing now that we've established the training and the criteria of the training. We have a team of wonderful volunteers who we call our Dementia-Friendly Southington Action Team. And this is a group of stakeholders in town, probably almost 20 of us now, who are, folks that, your listeners would probably recognize, who have been spreading the word in their own organizations, as well as advancing the initiative across town. So to your question, we are, the Observer has had a couple, 2, 3, even 4 stories at this point about the initiative, and just getting the word out. People can certainly contact me. I'll give a phone number if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So reach me here at LiveWell, which is at 860-628-3062. Or maybe even easier is I'll give you an email address here, the letter K, O'Leary. So KOLEARY at livewell.org. So either way will reach me, and happy to answer any questions. You can also visit the website, which we were talking a little bit about. The videos are very cool, and there's more information about Dementia Friends sessions, and that's at dementiafriendsct.org.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about Southington's leadership on that, because I think this is pretty unique as far as the number of towns that are working on this in the state and even nationally, right?
Yeah, no, nationally, it's interesting. There's this actually, I always get a kick out of this because I'm originally from the Midwest. Minnesota, actually, land of the covered dish, is actually the furthest ahead on this, because years ago, and I can't tell you what year, but years ago, they actually kind of went to the UK and brought it over here, such that there are lots of dementia-friendly communities in Minnesota. In about mid-2015, it then was established Dementia Friendly America, and they borrowed a lot from Act on Alzheimer's, which was what Minnesota was calling their movement. So So slowly, I think all but one state now has some sort of activity going on. Connecticut is just, here in Southington as well as in Greenwich, we're digging in on this. Other communities are we've got Dementia Friends champions all over the state now. We've been working with the Area Agency on Aging here in the state, especially the north central of the 5 offices. Champions are people who have become dementia friends and then taken it one step further and gotten trained so that they can deliver information sessions. So that's kind of how the movement is stepping out. There are just shy of 3,000 dementia friends now in Connecticut. So people like you who have become dementia friends by virtue of going to the information session. So this is really gaining traction. It's important because there probably are, we estimate at this point, about 78,000 people in Connecticut who are living with dementia. If you apply kind of your World Health Organization statistics looking at demographics and you look at Southington, could be as many as about 3,600 people here in our town, some of whom live at LiveWell or other Hartford Healthcare properties or other places, but most, probably up to 70%, live at home. So that means that they need the real support of their communities because their caregiver, and I've read that it takes like an average of 3 caregivers to really kind of pull this off and manage this together. They're in the community. They need transportation. I was very excited to see that we are on our way to getting a public bus route through town because we need transportation. You can't be dementia friendly if you can't get there.
Right, especially with the weather we have.
Well, right. So there's all kinds of important components to this. I look forward, and I haven't really established any relationships yet with the supermarkets in town, but boy, that is a place where you really need to, I think, in the interest of best serving your customer, be aware when somebody's experiencing change and recognize that when somebody puts something in their purse or starts munching on produce, it may not be anything more than just forgetting the protocol. Right? Yeah. So I would invite any grocers who are interested or any business owners or organizations to get in touch and let's start working with your staff. And it's a win-win. Because I think, all of us who are involved with customer service want to give the best service and want to be equipped with all the tools that we have at our disposal to best communicate with folks.
Yeah. And how about you personally? How did you get involved in this?
I came here about 1.5 years ago from Leadership Greater Hartford. So I was in Hartford working on community development, leadership development. And so this was a natural fit. And as I mentioned earlier, I personally believe so deeply that we are all walking each other home. And so this appeals to my heart. Yeah. And I've fallen in love with this town. I mean, this town is funny. One of my first impressions of Southington was driving down Main Street on a Wednesday morning and seeing all the chairs set up for the Wednesday night music. I thought, oh my God, where am I? Oh, but Ron Brown and First Congregational Church, and I mean, they're just our stakeholders. Deputy Chief Bill Palmieri, Donna Ayer at Bread for Life, and we've got Kieran and Jolene at the Y. We've got such wonderful people. Val DePalo, and just such wonderful people. Soka, Mary DeCros has just been awesome. We've got people just digging in on this, and it's the kind of town Southington is.
I know, and it's hard when you start naming names.
Well, it is because I don't want to leave anybody out, but it's just been a fantastic effort. People can get involved in, I think a good way to start this conversation is to come to a Dementia Friends information session, learn a little bit about the movement, and then take it where you will. And also any of your listeners who know somebody locally who's living with dementia, I would invite them to check out the Memory Cafe at the library. I would also invite them to check out something called the Dementia Peer Coalition. This is a group of people who are living with dementia who have come together really to have a support group that is run by and for people living with dementia. So this movement is all about not about us without us. And so on the first Monday at the Calendar House is when that group meets. And if anybody wants information on that, I'm going to give a phone number here that they should call. It's 860-628-3888. 3080 and ask about the Dementia Peer Coalition. And this is for people who are early enough on in their dementia that they are comfortable talking about it. So they're comfortable, being outward, being open about their dementia and inclined to gather as a group.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different programs, but of course, if anybody has any sort of interest, they can just call you.
Call me.
You'll point them in the
Call
right
me.
direction. Have you seen some of the programs change in the last year and a half? Did it go about as you had thought, or have you had to switch gears a couple times?
I've been just really excited about the town's receptivity to this. I've also been so encouraged. There's over 50. Probably between 50 and 75 people who work for the town who have become dementia friends. It's just, people get this. People get this. I think one of our challenges as the initiative is sustainability. Right. I think our group is right now tackling, what happens in 2 years? How do we keep this going? Because dementia is not going away. Right. If we're lucky, we can figure this out. But in the meantime, it's not going away. And so we need to just make sure that we keep it on the, We need to also make sure that you may remember, talking about cancer.
Sure.
A couple decades ago. It's different than talking about cancer now. Right. When you talk about stigma or AIDS, for example, that there are things that our society's gotten a handle on in terms of better managing.
Right.
I think dementia right now is at that point where that diagnosis is a scary one. It's not curable.
Right.
We need the support of the community, but part of that is having the community be receptive to getting rid of the stigma.
Right.
It's not a character flaw. It's a disease of the brain,
right.
And just like any other, we have to just support each other.
And very much like cancer, people progress through it at different rates, and some some people can live with it for a very long time.
Right.
Some people not so much.
And we're all at LiveWell, which is, by the way, why we changed our name from the Alzheimer's Resource Center to LiveWell, is we wanted to take the disease out of the name and just focus on living well,
right,
and resilience. And I've met some amazing people who have really chosen to take this diagnosis and just advocate and find purpose. And you remember Bob from your Dementia Friend session, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's probably between over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he believes strongly, and I believe too, that his advocacy, he's one of the founders of the Dementia Peer Coalition support group, that having purpose really makes a difference.
Sure.
So we have another gentleman, Charles Mikulak, who was diagnosed with FTD, which is another kind of dementia, who is in Bob's capacity, joining in delivering the Dementia Friend sessions and telling stories to make it very relatable for the folks who are attending. He too has just blossomed in his a very gracious sharing. I mean, when you think about it, to spend your time helping to share your experiences so that people might better understand dementia, and what a gift that is to all of us.
And through these programs, have you had more people with dementia want to come forward and help?
Slowly but surely, and I think, and I'm so grateful for you having me on your program here, because I think that it's a process that I sometimes get a little frustrated, like, how do we engage people? But you know what, it's up to them, and it's a personal decision, and nobody knows how they would handle their diagnosis and whether they want to be, whether they would find this interesting and find purpose in this, or whether they want to just jump in the RV and tackle the bucket list. It's a very personal decision. We just want to make sure that our community is there for them no matter what.
Yeah. So where do you see this going over the next year or so?
Well, over the next year, I'm really hopeful that we can, find that first dementia-friendly restaurant, and we're in conversation with a restaurant, and I won't say who it is just yet, but I look forward to really going public about the first dementia-friendly restaurant. I'm hopeful that we will get various, sectors trained. We will be piloting a first responder training in the fall, as well as Bread for Life and their, Meals on Wheels sort of, home visitors. We are just, I want to get into the supermarkets. The group wants to just make sure we reach a certain level of saturation and then just grow it from there.
Right.
Yeah. So that
Right.
everybody in town will be just aware of the movement and maybe participating in some way or another.
Sure.
See the decal on the door, wear one of the Dementia Friends buttons,
Right. Right.
So whatever way works, that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had unlimited time and resources, what would you do? What would you change to daydream here a little bit?
Oh, if I had a magic wand, I think one of our biggest issues, and I don't think this initiative is, well, I know we're not addressing it specifically, but transportation.
Yeah.
That, people stop driving at some point with this disease, and that varies, and that's a decision that they and their families need to make, because everybody's different. But boy, when that decision is made, and especially if your care partner is working, you might be pretty stuck and pretty isolated. So if I had a magic wand, we would figure out the transportation. There's a great start now if we get this bus through town, because that then connects us to paratransit. It's a federal program that I don't have unlimited knowledge on, but I know that links even further then from the bus route.
Okay.
It gives it's a disabilities access issue. So I would say transportation is really key.
Okay.
And with my still waving the magic wand, have people not whisper. This is another disease. This is another thing that we have to deal with. And I think there's really power in being able to say, here's my situation, here's the support I need from my friends and family and community. Right.
Because very much like cancer, as you mentioned, it's either in your family or somebody. You're never more than 2-3 steps away from it.
Well, exactly. And there's plenty of volunteer programs to get rides to chemo. Sure. Or whatever. How about volunteer programs where you can get somebody who's living with dementia, to where they want to go, whether it be a dementia peer support group meeting, or time at the library, or shopping, or music on the green,
Absolutely.
So how do we pull together and meet all the needs of people who are living with dementia? Okay.
All right, as we close it out, I'll give you a chance to give your name and all the websites and email addresses and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you. So again, it's Katy O'Leary Bannister, but Katy O'Leary. The phone number is here at LiveWell, 860-628-3062. And here's my email, K O'Leary, so the letter K and then OLEARY @LiveWell, all one word, .org.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
You coming on.
Thank you.